What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Talk of the Tundra, your Green Bay Packers podcast that is a proud partner of the Eurostep Podcast Network and the Blue Wire family. I am your host, Numac, as always, joining me to talk about this no good, very bad loss by the Green Bay Packers to the Super Bowl probably favorite, I'd say, Detroit Lions, is my co-host, Jordan Chesky. Jordan, how you doing, buddy?
Is that a Judy Bloom reference?
Yeah,
There we
it
go.
sure is.
The baby bloomers represent.
That's right.
Packers did not represent themselves very well
No,
today.
no, they did very bad. And this is just a warning for everybody. Cursing needs to not happen between the first like 2 minutes of a podcast for on YouTube. Always you get certain ad stuff, and so when that time passes, it'll be happening. So just fair warning. 24-14, the Packers lose to the Lions in a game that was not that close score wise.
No.
I saw at one point, not saw, but just like at one point it was 24-3 or six at some point, 24-3. I'm pretty sure. It was just bad the entire way along. The rain came down throughout the entire game. It affected one team very badly. And it affected another team not at all. And it's embarrassing that it happened at home for the Packers.
Well, and let's make this very clear. It was the team that does not play outdoors.
No,
Play in their
they hadn't played an outside home or an outside game since December of last year.
no, well, it would be the conference championship in San Fran.
Yes,
But still,
an outside regular season game.
yeah. And yeah. Like what?
Yeah, yeah. We've touched on this in the past 2-3 years now about the home field advantage that Lambeau has. It doesn't exist anymore, and it it we had this stupid discussion in like off comment and at the end of the last episode about the goal package games. I again, it was so loud for the Packers on third and fourth down in this game. Like it's actually insane how much other opposing fans were in the stands. Again, I've made this argument in the past that fans visiting Lambeau is like a rite of passage for a football fan, but golly, it's frustrating when on in important downs the home team is getting jeered and made loud in their own home stadium like that.
As I have said on this subject, I believe maybe in passing last week, or probably more so last year because that was the Thursday night football game against the Lions that the Packers hosted, and then were similarly outclassed by the Lions in that game. I would just say we celebrate it when the Packers are in Jacksonville and represent and all this stuff, and when it happens to us, we get all butthurt. People get butthurt.
Yeah, that's me.
And it's not just you though, because there are legitimate people that spend time thinking about disassembling the goal package, the whole thing about Milwaukee and all this stuff. Well, how about this? I'm going to say this right now. How about take Milwaukee out of Green Bay's territorial rights and let them have an NFL franchise if they so choose? Because that is part of the reason why that is the thing. It's a stupid business thing that we don't talk about, but it exists, and it's why the package exists. Because the Packers, in their own rightful way, took games out of Milwaukee because they realized that is part of their their brand, their fan base. So when Lambeau becomes this hallowed experience that they don't only promote that Green Bay Packers or Green Bay citizens and Packers fans enjoy, it's the state team. It's not just Green Bay, it's Milwaukee included. And then it gets bigger and bigger because it's a hallowed trademark NFL team that you want other fans to enjoy the experience. And when you're expanding your stadium where you could fit, what's the current capacity? Like 80,000?
eighty
Maybe a
thousand
little
at
under.
least. No, it's over 80.
It's over
I'll double
80,000.
check it, but I'm pretty sure it's over 80.
Over 80,000. Let's just go with that estimate. That's like what, 75% of the freaking city of Green Bay? Not everybody in Green Bay is going to a Packer game. So, like, I'm just
80,
saying
81,440.
81,000. I'm just saying it happens in games. It's, let me just gather my thoughts here. Every time it's brought up, it's when the Packers poop their pants and everybody just searches for reasons why they looked bad, and it's brought up that the Milwaukee element of it. Oh, we should stop giving tickets to Milwaukee people because they sell them often. Blah, blah, blah. I literally saw this tweet from I think it was, I'm just going to say his name. I'm not, it's not a subtweet. I'm just going to say it. It was from Tyler Brook. I don't know where he writes. He's a really good Packers follow otherwise. But I see this stuff all the time. I've seen Aaron Nagler talk about this. I've seen other people um, people I respect and like their opinions about Packers things, and they just crap on this element of this stuff when the Packers just pooped their pants. That's what happened. Just admit it. That's why you're mad
Yeah,
because
I am
they
mad
sucked.
because the Packers absolutely fucking sucked today. It was absurd. They let me double check the stats here. I'm pretty sure they ended the game with 10 penalties for 67 yards, and so
Yes.
many of those penalties were just shooting themselves in the foot. I think the only defensive penalty they had was the holding on Keyshawn Nixon that was ticky tack on the third down, where they got the stop. And other than that, it was all offensive penalties, false
Yeah.
starts, holdings, both on offense and special teams. And that's the story of the game today, because holy shit, what the hell is going on? Why do these penalties still exist? Like, why are we still doing this with a team that was supposed to be another year older and not as prone to these type of mistakes? I know they got younger on the whole as from last year after moving on from two different players, but golly, man, like false starts on Josh Jacobs can't happen. The holding on from Jordan Morgan, like that's fine. He's a rookie in his first start at a position where I'm pretty sure they hadn't had him all year. Was he at? I'm pretty sure they. I'm not sure what was right. I'm pretty sure he was at left guard.
He would be previous to this game. He was rotating with Sean Ryan,
At
so on the
right
right
guard.
guard.
But
Yeah. So
I
now
for
left.
well I forget if they I think they put him at left guard and kept Sean Ryan on the right. And
Yeah,
so
because he was next to Rasheed Walker.
okay, that makes sense. Like for the game that I saw,
And
the
Alan
the
Jenkins was
the
under center.
who had a very poor showing under center. We'll get to that in a minute. But
Yeah.
like, oh my god, they just kept shooting themselves in the foot at the most critical times. Third and one
Yeah.
turns to third and six. First and 10 after a huge play turns to first and 15. In the first quarter, or the second quarter, the second quarter, after Josh Jacobs breaks off a 38-yard run, they go to third and two to third and seven to then not getting the first down. And it's like there's just so many times like the mental mistakes today, Jordan, I think are just the reason they lost this game. And it's easy to point to like in hindsight to look at big moments in the game. I said it in Discord and I tweeted it out. Not getting seven after they drove down the field for 7.5 minutes only to kick a field goal just set the tone of this game that they were ready to settle for things that they shouldn't be settling for. Like you have to go for it on fourth down there. I don't think taking the points there is a good idea because they were moving the ball pretty well, and just to settle there for three, I think let's takes the foot off the gas against a team that is going to have the pedal to the floor the entire time. Because I mean, look at how the Lions operate on offense today. They went they went 2 for 2 on fourth down and 4 of 12 on third down. And I think the 8 misses they had were probably mostly in the second half when it
Yeah.
was well out of reach for the Packers. And it's just so frustrating to have to keep talking about penalties. I can't stand it.
Yeah. It's the things. It is mostly the things you can control. A lot of the penalties today were things that the Packers could control.
Yeah, absolutely. There
And
was there
I
was no
think,
penalty where it was like I think the Keyshawn Nixon one was the only one that was
yeah,
that was like ticky tack. Maybe they shouldn't have called that one, but
yeah,
all the false starts, all the holdings, including the one on special teams. And I'm sorry, did you know why he got? I guess I'm sorry you missed the first part of the game.
I
The
did.
the Packers kickoff, Keyshawn Nixon takes it to like the 40-yard line, and then gets pushed out of bounds into the Lions sideline, and he like runs into a coach because he got pushed out of bounds, and they
Yeah.
threw a flag and called it 15 yards back to the 25. Don't know why they called it. Nothing. The replay showed nothing. No jawing, anything like that. But they threw a
Hmm.
flag. it's just, oh my god, I'm so unfathomably frustrated at the stupid shit that happened today.
Well, we're not even probably talking about the biggest mistake that was made today is Jordan
Jordan Love's
Love's
pick six,
pick
like
six.
it. Go ahead if you want to talk. I
No, I just think that is it. This is the second pick six, a similar like event too when it happened in the Rams game. There's like a last minute of the first half. Packers are kind of they were more pinned on their heels then in that drive because it's what like a 5 yard touchdown. But 58 seconds left today in the first half. Lions just scored 10-3 at that point.
have a chance to go into half either down seven or somehow score some points. At the worst case, you're down seven if you just
And
play it safe.
to continue your frustrations of not doing with what little that they could do, the previous drive that they had was aided by Brian Branch, everything that happened with him, an unsportsmanlike penalty, then flipping off
Double
the
flipping
referee,
off.
double flipping off the referee that gave him the call, which is, I mean, objectively hilarious.
I mean,
Uh,
objectively, that's a hit that is warranted for an ejection. Like I know
yes,
there was a lot of people on Twitter that were like, "How's that an ejection?" He went right at his head. He put his
yeah,
crown of his helmet down into Bull Melton's face. Like
yeah,
that's just a an unsportsmanlike conduct. Get out of here. That's a dangerous play. I'm
yeah,
shocked that Bull Melton didn't have a concussion. He caught a pass later in the game. Like
yeah. He was not really ruled out, which
it's crazy because he got walloped by Brian Branch in the head on, and then he hit his head pretty hard on the ground. So
but they go from the Green Bay 38 to after all that stuff, to the Detroit 32. Then basically just didn't do anything much with after that penalty. So with the final 58 seconds in the first half, the Packers are able to at least have a chance to put points on the board. They did put points on the board. They gave those points to the Detroit Lions, where Jordan Love scrambling, targeting Josh Jacobs in the like forest through the trees kind of way, or trees through the forest kind of way, whatever you want to call it. But
yeah,
like
just trying to dump
just
it off.
just throws it to Kirby Joseph, who again has a nose for the ball, now tied with Xavier McKinney with the interceptions as the interceptions leader in the NFL. It just takes it to the house. There's a house call. So I think all of the self-inflicted errors and mistakes that the Packers make just gets compounded by Jordan Love, and it's you know I feel like it's probably worth a bigger discussion, maybe because we're about to enter the bye week, so it will be worth a bigger discussion because we got to fill some content void anyway. But when that keeps happening, and Matt LaFleur, I know I didn't watch a lot of the post game stuff, but I saw that he's getting annoyed with the Brett Favre comparisons, and what do you know?
Didn't stop doing it.
I saw a graphic on the Fox broadcast that Jordan Love is the first quarterback in the first Packers quarterback since 2006 to have thrown an interception in his last seven starts. Well, I'm going to guess if Aaron Rodgers didn't do it, it's going to be Brett Favre. Like it's just by process of elimination, there's not a lot of people that fit that criteria. So yeah, like I just think all of these errors and the penalties or illegal formation. Like the Packers for a team that like has a lot of penalties, they have a lot of penalties going to skill positions and where they're
Mm-hmm.
positioned on the field. That is not good. And we talked about it last year with how young that team was and still is, as you mentioned. But we talked about a lot of the like discipline issues that the Packers have.
Oh, it's
And
bad.
last year was a problem when they were losing. And yeah, now they're 6-3. It's objectively a better season, but our standards are higher. We're expecting things to look a little smooth, like a more. I feel like they're a machine that just kind of operates at like stop start intervals, and it's not really well oiled
No,
at this point in the
no, the
season.
gears lock up a whole lot. And like I said it. I think on Monday or Tuesday, or possibly after Sunday's game, that when Jordan Love said that they haven't been playing their best football, it's like, yeah, no, they haven't, and it's crazy because they're 6-3 now. Like if they
Yeah.
played their best football, they have a again. I'm gonna get back on this horse. If they've played their best football all season, they're a 10-0. They're a 10-0 team or a 9-0 team, whatever the record is supposed to be. Like they barely lose against the Eagles. The Vikings game, if they just are better the first half, they probably win that game. And then tonight, honestly, they played well outside of their dumb freaking penalties. Like
Yeah.
they moved the ball well. They had 400 yards of offense, Jordan. Like
Yes.
they just they played well. You got a great Josh Jacobs game. Josh Jacobs had 17 carries, or I'm sorry, 13 carries for 95 yards, including that 37-yard breakaway run. And then he had 13 more in the passing game. Josh Jacobs was fantastic this game. He had a average yard per attempt of 7.3 yards. I don't get it. They just well, I'm sorry. I do get it. They just shoot themselves in the foot. They can't put together consistent 4 quarters of offense. They just haven't played a full 60 minutes yet. It sucks. They haven't done that.
I I would probably go a little bit more granular, or even more closer to the this part of the field. The Packers just keep pooping their pants. I'm going to
Yeah.
keep saying this. When it comes to the red zone,
Mm-hmm.
Malcolm brought it up on our our little crossover pod, and heading into this game, 50% on red zone opportunities, 15 for 30. Say they're 1 for 4.
Yep.
This is a team when the field is wide open, they have Jaden Reed moving down the field. Josh Jacobs, who didn't really play much of the second half, he
He
came
got
up gingerly,
came
and then
up
they
lame. I'm guessing it was his ankle that he had was nursing
yeah.
coming out of the last week's game. But
And
but
at
he
that point in the
but he
game,
did come back in and have that rush at the end of the game. We're on fourth down where he didn't get it.
yeah, um, you know, they, for all the hand wringing about Jordan Love, and they were really trying to make it look like Malik Willis is like right on, like about to enter the game, when it was clear that Jordan Love is out there. The fact that he was playing today was a good indication that Jordan Love is going to be out there if he's actually taken out of the game
Mm-hmm.
hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And he was able to make plays. Like it wasn't perfect by any means, as we mentioned, but he's finding receivers. He was like they were moving the ball,
A lot.
but a lot. But you can't do it in the 20 this 20-yard part.
I
Like
don't
these are your supposed
and
to
I
be
don't
your
know
A
why.
plus plays,
Yeah.
and it just has not worked. And not even just that. We mentioned it, like they have a lot of the short field goals, whether it was Braden Narvison or now Brandon McManus, and they can still get taken out of red zone opportunity, out of field goal range, and make things harder that they have to be. And I don't know how or why that is happening for a team that, yes, Jordan Love has had a weird year in terms of he's missed a couple of games. He was obviously limited last week, but by and large, like outside the Romeo Dobbs thing and Christian Watson missing what, 1 game, um, everybody's been largely healthy. Yeah, it just has not been. They have not found the like foundation to red zone offense, short field success, and I don't know if the bye week will help kind of like reposition or repurpose how they, you're kind of like these are these are big plays that we're going to turn to in these kind of instances. Like maybe the magic runs out, or they have to get a little bit more innovative, or I don't know. I have
So
no
Tucker
idea.
Craft, you might not have seen it. They had fourth down and a very like a half of football in the first quarter,
Yes.
first drive. And it's like, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna make Jordan Love do the QB sneak on fourth down with his bad groin and bad knee? They motioned Tucker Craft under center, had him take the snap, and got the first down as a QB sneak with Tucker Craft. Like that's an innovative play.
Yeah.
It didn't go for a lot of yards, but it's a wrinkle. And I think like what is so mind-boggling to me about it is that they used to be so good in the red zone, right? Under Rodgers, they were so good in the red zone.
I don't. I think they were even pretty good last year, if
They were
memory serves. I'll look it up.
Probably, maybe, I don't know, but I'd like for sure under Matt LaFleur, they've been good in the red zone before, and I don't know what has happened. Maybe it's the lack of Devontae Adams. That's a big hole to have or to have missing in the red zone, right? But also the biggest thing for this offense is just the drops. They had 6 of them today, Jordan.
Uh,
They had
yeah,
Dontayvion Wicks open in the end zone, wide open. The throw was a twinge behind him. It hits him in the hands. He has to catch that ball. Tucker Craft has a first down on the edge when the game is still within reach. Goes through his hands, drop. Like there was just so many inexplicable drops today where Jordan Love hit the receiver where the ball needed to be and it just went through their hands. And
yeah.
I just don't know. Maybe there's something we can't see. The ball moved weird because it was really windy in Lambeau today. Aaron Andrews is making up weather alerts, whatever it was. But golly, man, catch the ball. And like the the third down on the first drive, I think it was, or it might have been the second drive, when Jordan Love finds Chris Brooks over the middle, and if he catches the ball, it's a first down. They continue the drive, drops it. Uh, this is me getting on my high horse and being a fan of the guy I really like. I've had enough of the Chris Brooks experience. Emmanuel Wilson is a better back.
It has been really weird.
It's been weird. Emmanuel
Really
Wilson
weird.
earned that running back 2 spot. That is his role. Chris Brooks has been good in pass protection. That is no doubt about it. They cannot continue to keep running plays with Chris Brooks as the designed running back or having him coming out of the backfield. He's not as good as a running back as Emmanuel Wilson is. I'm just saying it flat out. It just isn't there for him. And I'm glad that they found some sort of solution for pass protection outside of Emmanuel Wilson because it's not his best area, but he's been doing pretty good. He hasn't allowed a huge sack when he's been back there. And like Josh Jacobs is good enough at it. I don't see
Yeah.
a reality in which they need to be using their third running back this much. And like it makes me mad as a fan because like you're willingly taking off a better player just because he's a little bit better in pass protection when in general, Jordan, the offensive line is good at pass protection. You shouldn't be needing the running back as a pass protector that often. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they have Tucker Craft on the edge, they have Ben Sims on the edge to help out with chips on guys edge rushing. Like Jordan Love didn't take a sack today. Like
Yeah.
that the D line wasn't an issue for Jordan Love and the Packers today. He was scrambling a whole bunch. They were getting pressures for sure, but there was never a situation where he was like he got hit pretty hard or something. There was the one where he came down and the guys on the Lions had the guy in the ankle had Jordan Love in an ankle lock, which is again
Yeah.
dirty. But oh my god, it just I'm they're getting too cute with that part of the offense because
Yeah.
like just keep running Josh Jacobs, Emmanuel Wilson. Josh Jacobs, like I said, 13 for 95, average of 7.3. Emmanuel Wilson, 4 carries, 28 yards, and a touchdown, an average of 7 yards. They're good backs. Quit subbing in Chris Brooks, who went 2 for 13, 2 carries for 13 yards today, and had 3 catches for 28. Like, that's fine. Chris Brooks is not a dynamic enough player to be taking opportunities and touches away from Josh Jacobs, Emmanuel Wilson, or anybody in the receiving offense. He just isn't. And I'm not a Chris Brooks hater. It's just there's better players objectively than he is to be in there as often as he is. I wouldn't be surprised if he outsnapped Emmanuel Wilson today. Not even one bit.
I think he did. I think he did last year or last week too. Stop. In the immortal words of Mean Girls, stop trying to make fetch happen. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
And like I'm happy he's carved out a role for himself. Good for Chris Brooks. Like honestly, truly. I'm happy that he's found a role within the offense. I think that the offensive coordinator and Matt LaFleur are leaning on him too much to where he's an option as the safety valve on plays where he's pass protecting, or they're using him as a mix up where Chris Brooks is in, they're going to be passing, then they hand the ball off. Well, if that's the case, just use a better back.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just
I to close the loop, I
ugh.
look back at the Packers red zone um efficiency, 51.9% in 2022. So the first Devontae or post Devontae year, 51.6% last year in Jordan Love's first year as a starter. So
Maybe it is
the
that.
Packers have been this has been consistent of the Packers the last couple of years,
But
unfortunately.
but they were really good in 19 and 20. Like they were really good, which is like two. I mean, honestly, 2021 too, which is again
21 they were really good, and then the playoff game against the 49ers happened. It
it broke
honestly
everything. That's
when it
everything
started.
broke. Everything
Yeah.
broke. Um, Devontae Wicks, Dontavian Wicks. We need to bring back Stickum for him. It's getting bad at this point. Like it's becoming MVS. Honestly, where you just can't reliably count on him to catch football. It's inexcusable at this point. Um, Christian Watson needs to be used more like he was today than he has been in previous weeks. I thought he had a really
Yeah.
good dynamic game. 3 catches, 37 yards. Jaden Reed pops off on like weirdly 5 catches, 113 yards. Romeo Dobbs had a nice catch at his shoelaces. He had 5 targets, 4 catches, 28 yards. Like but he had one I think bounce off his chest if I'm not mistaken. Like there was just so many mistakes today, Jordan, and it makes me so angry because like I think last year's Lambeau loss I was like at peace with. They were a floundering team. They weren't doing so hot like throughout, and the biggest thing was that they got out coached that game. Like the Sam Laporte touchdown that they got because of specifically watching Russell Douglas tape. That's just a better coaching job. That's fine. They had an opportunity to win this game today, and they just shit themselves at center field, 50
At
yard line,
center field.
at 50
Uh,
yard line, not center field.
I was gonna say, put me in coach. I'm ready to play. Um, no, I think part of it is it's obviously one last year was at week 4, so it's very early on. Don't really know what to make of both teams yet, outside of the fact that the Lions beat the Chiefs on opening night and the Packers beat the Bears on opening night. And what they beat the lost to the Falcons
Beat the
and
Saints.
beat the Saints after.
Yep.
So yeah, expectations are a lot different this game. It was what one of the most highly competitive teams meeting at Lambeau at a very critical juncture.
Yep.
Obviously, with a within a very competitive division, um, and the gap just got widened by one game, and that's no matter how you look at this performance. I'm definitely disappointed today, but I'm not. I don't have a fury within me as you do, but
I have a fury because it's just stupid shit that they lost by. If they play a good
yeah,
game, they
yeah,
win this game. Flat out. Flat out.
yeah. Well, I just think again these things kind of reveal themselves over the course of the season, and no one wants to assume that the season is going to end in anything but a trip to the Super Bowl. But if they fall short, it's like it's all the stuff that we're seeing right now.
Yeah.
That's I think the most frustrating thing is that
Yep.
Packers' biggest enemy is might be themselves.
Oh, for sure. Without
And
a doubt. They haven't
I think that is certainly true of Jordan Love.
yeah.
As much as I love him.
They haven't faced a team that they can't beat this year. Without a doubt. They have not they have played what now? 9 games and they have had an opportunity to win every single game.
Yeah,
And they just consistently find ways to make that not happen, which is why Jordan, I want to just grab this mic and throw it. It's 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 infuriating and frustrating as a fan to watch it. Like I just keep saying it. It's dumb mistakes. These are not rookies making mistakes. These are second year guys. Like Josh Jacobs is a six year veteran. False start on the first drive. Can't be doing it. There, Jordan Morgan, you're excused from this conversation on your hold. That's fine. I'll take it. Like I'm not worried about you. It's everything else that has to go along with it, and it's inexcusable. It's unacceptable. And oh my god, Elton Jenkins at safety or at center, just not an option.
Oh,
It was
brother.
bad.
I gotta clear you out for right now. I was certainly one of the people that'd be like, hey, Elton Jenkins has experience as a center and Josh Meyer. We all were. We all were. That has ended today. And I get it. Having your first start at center, play in probably one of the most disgustingly played games at Lambeau in quite some time. I have not seen rain and wind whip in that stadium
No,
for
a
like
long time.
extensively. Like it wasn't just a stretch of the game. That was the entire game.
Yep.
So having to do that, snapping the ball to a guy that is clearly not 100% is mobility is a problem. Tom Brady, for all his faults
Oh
as a
my god,
broadcaster,
I couldn't stand it today.
Tom Brady, for all his faults as a broadcaster, brought up a good point. And I actually wish that he was going to talk about it more because, hey, you were a quarterback for half my life, and I hated you all for those years. But I would like to hear you talk more about the snap placement. And to me, that was very. I know you just
That
put
that would
up
require that would require being a good broadcaster, having meaningful insights, and not getting fined for criticizing a referee's call. As now a co-owner, I hope he gets fined extensively. I don't give a shit.
Anyway, I'm just saying, see the ball snapped repeatedly low
Yep.
and having to see Jordan Love like you mentioned that he wasn't sacked at all this game. He was pressured a couple times, obviously pressured on the interception, but it just disrupts your time, your rhythm. The things that if you're going to try to make quick throws, kind of eliminates you from making those throws when you have to keep lunging for the ball and having to set up your, footwork within this framework of the offense. It just looked bad. It was terrible. And it wasn't like, and we haven't even mentioned about like, there's probably what, three or four fumbles, like live
Oh
balls
yeah.
based on bad snaps.
Yeah. At least two. No, I think he had three.
Okay, so again, just like they had no other decision. Josh Myers was hurt. I was surprised, and then I realized I know Keith. Shout out to Keith mentioned that he had not practiced all week, and me being just forgetful and work brain, forgot that Josh Myers was hurt. But um, yeah, on merit, on performance alone, Ellen Jenkins is not this like panacea of like, yeah, if Josh Myers is ever hurt, we could throw in Ellen Jenkins at center. It's like,
Nope.
you sure about that? Like that I think you should leave things. So
Yeah.
yeah, I was just it was awful. It was really awful.
Yeah. I my This is my formal apology to Josh Myers, who I think honestly has had a pretty good season.
I literally thought you were about to be like who I think is having the best football of his career.
I
The
Right.
He is.
He
He
is.
clearly
He's
is.
been having a good season. Last year he was not. I'm not going to let that go kind of thing.
People
But
don't forget.
no, they don't. We're elephants. That's not true at all. I forget all the time. Um, but it's just
What?
like, yeah, that it's now a problem. Like, hopefully Josh Myers can get right, but a wrist injury as a lineman is probably a pretty tough thing to get over. Like, that's a critical thing that you need to use and use a lot with a lot of force. Excuse me, but yeah, it's just I'm. Do you want to move on to the defense? Talk about them a little bit.
Yeah, might as well.
I didn't think they were too bad today. I
No.
think the game plan from the Lions was just to dink and dunk the entire game. There was no big throws downfield from Jared Goff, who had an efficient day, 18 and 22 with one touchdown. But I wouldn't be surprised if his longest throw wasn't more than like 15 yards on the field. I think that was like one of the only ones. And
Are you talking about like air yards?
air yards,
Yeah,
because the
probably
long
not. I mean, his average yards per pass or per completed pass is 6.6.
I
So
know.
it's not like they're airing it out.
And
They knew
well
the
that
game plan and forecast going into the game.
well that along with the longest reception they had on the game was 26 yards from Amon St. Brown.
Hmm.
Like they didn't have big chunk plays, and they weren't really throwing that far down the field. And like David Montgomery was having whatever he wanted in the first half, and Jameer Gibbs had a really good day. Like they total as a pair about 138 yards.
Yeah.
And honestly, like I'm not upset about that. Like I think that's fairly well for two dynamic running backs like that on a day when you knew they were going to run a whole lot. And so I don't know, man. What I do know is that Quay Walker can't play anymore. He can't be starting. They need to give the dot to Eric Wilson or somebody else and put Edge out there with Eric Wilson or Isaiah McDuffie or something. Because I don't know what happened to Quay. His physicality is supposed to be a plus. I don't think I've ever seen him come downhill as a linebacker, like on a running play, I should say. My apologies, but you watch him in the run game, and he almost exclusively picks the wrong hole. He just can't predict where a running back is going to go. He can't anticipate a play at all. And you watch Adrian Cooper play, and it's incredible. He went toe for toe with Jameer Gibbs on a wheel route down the sideline. Like
Yeah.
he can play. Edger Cooper can play, dude. Like that, I will take the fattest L on that. Like I, it's nuts. He is really good. And so just watching Quay Walker not be able to do the things he should be able to do, get into a hole and wrap up a tackle, like be able to follow a guy over the slant in the passing game. It's year three. He might
Yeah.
not get his option picked up.
Uh, it,
I know it's like that. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
it's certainly trending at least 50-50, which is not reassuring.
Not reassuring whatsoever.
There's a case to be made that you could be like, oh, if they were to, you'd be like, oh, interesting. And if they were not to, you'd be, oh, it's like it
Yeah.
kind of just falls in the middle, which is shocking. But yeah,
It,
I again, the defense itself, I don't think looked worse for wear. I think their job was just made harder by the fact that the offense kept pooping their
mm-hmm.
pants.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a 32-year-old man keeps saying that, but that I don't know of any other way to describe the Packers' ineffectiveness offensively outside of just saying what I just said right now. But
Yeah.
yeah, like I know a lot of people are going to look at the Jared Goff stat line and complete his first 11 passes. I want to say literally every incompletion that he had, so four of them came on blitzes.
Yeah.
It was
Don't know what happened to Halfley's play like calling today. Maybe it's because they were running the ball so much you can't really send blitzes that bad.
that's
But
yes.
yeah, you're right that it was all blitzes that he couldn't he couldn't get the ball off.
And again, Jair did not play today,
No,
too.
no.
So
Jair, Evan Williams, and Josh Myers were all out.
yeah, tough break that way. But
Yeah,
again,
but even
I
then, I don't think it really would have mattered because Amon-Ra St. Brown was really the only player that really ate him up. He had 7 catches for 56 yards and a touchdown. The touchdown was a great throw, great pat, like
yeah,
great throw, great catch. Nothing really Keyshawn can do about that. I'm not mad at Keyshawn for that. I'm mad that they gave up the offside penalty on that 4th and 6 to get to 4th and 1
yeah,
or 4th and goal from the 5 to get to be 4th and goal from the 2.5 yard line on that play. Like that's what's most in frustrating about that sequence of events. But then their next highest receiving yards is Sam Laporta with 2 catches for 28 yards, and then it's David Montgomery for 3 for 23. Like Jared Goff was not a passing aficionado today. It was dink and dunks outside of a couple of throws to Amon-Ra St. Brown, who was going to get his anyways. If Jair's there, maybe he breaks up the touchdown. Maybe he is a little bit more of like a fly on shit to Amon Ra. Not to make that metaphor, just the metaphor itself. My apologies, but like he might be a little closer on him to be able to knock away some passes. Right? He went 7 for 7 on receptions and targets,
yeah.
and so like there was a lot of finding the soft spot of the defense today from the receivers, which is why it was so easy for Jared Goff. I don't think having Jair or Evan Williams really changes that. Maybe Evan Williams in the run game to be able to like snuff out these rushers a little bit better than other players, but I don't see like there isn't a big drop off of like production. I think that would have been fixed by having Jair or Evan Williams in there because they weren't going downfield. Xavier McKinney was nullified that way. He had 6 tackles today, but he wasn't really in there a whole much outside of that, and so it really came down to the front seven play, and I thought that they were doing fine. Like based on how they started the game, I thought Dave Montgomery was going for like 200. That dude would have just
Yeah.
was not being able to be stopped on the first drive. And so to keep their two dynamic rushers under 150 yards, again, that's a bit skewed because it wasn't a competitive game in the fourth quarter. But I don't know. It's frustrating to see a defensive performance like this wasted because the offense spotted them 7 points as well as just couldn't stay in the field. Like if they throw the pick six, it's 17-14.
Yeah, I think that is you can't work around that. The offense, the Lions offense was admittedly like they weren't in the left lane cruising down the highway kind of way. It was like more of like, hey, we're in the carpool lane. Just speak like Jared Goff's his whole thing, at least today, he just kept things on beat. He's a metronome. That looked a lot different than obviously how the Packers offense looked, at least until the red zone happened. um, but when you can just find the soft spots of the opposing defense, like that to me is what makes the Lions so good structurally, is that they marry clear playmakers that they have. Side note, did not realize Allen Robinson's on that team, which is crazy. Not that
Totally
he's
forgot that. Also,
that,
so annoyed that he had impact plays. Like that just again annoyed.
but to that point is that they have playmakers or guys that an Allen Robinson that was on the practice squad because I had to look this up. He was on the practice squad, then they elevated based on I think the Jamison Williams stuff and or other injuries, and they just know and diagnose where the soft spots of every defense is. To have that like talent versus like schematic or not versus and schematic um what diagnosis whatever you want to call it. I just whatever, I'm just trying to sound smart of being able to keep drives going and keep being such a productive and high powered offense is like legitimately crazy. That's where it's like it does show up as much as this Packers team has the capabilities of being a high scoring offense. It just happens in waves. And if we were to bring this up to uh, other team fans of teams or people with kind of a larger NFL view of it, they would view that as ticky tacky or nitpicky. But if you watch the Packers consistently and see, yeah, they're putting up points on the board, but it's not as seamless as you think it is.
No,
Today
it's
was a perfect example of why you're going to have games like this. You're going to
mm-hmm.
have times where it just clunks out. And so when you meet that up with a Lions team that this at one point it looked like the most like blowout game it could ever be for a 24-3 game, but with only 24 points on the board they looked so in control that it was just not. They're in two classes
Yeah,
of teams right now.
yeah. The Lions are uh, well and above the Packers talent wise at this point. Talent wise, just team wise, I think they just played better as a team. They're a very well coached team, and I don't think you can say the same across the board for the Packers. Like that's not a shot at
I
Matt
think you could
LaFleur. That's not a shot at anybody else. But I think like Dan Campbell, Ben Johnson, and I forget their defensive coordinator's name,
Aaron
have
Glenn.
Aaron Glenn have those guys in line and in order. There's nothing out of step with them. They all played the game they're supposed to play, and they're all focused. They don't have like a lot of penalties. They don't. They're just a well-oiled machine to bring the analogy back around. to where there's just not a lot of wasted movement in that offense or in their
Yeah.
defense.
Yeah. And I don't I think this is it's not a shot at Matt LaFleur and everybody's style can you know this Packers team can still have Super Bowl or ambitions and still realize those ambitions. But when you're talking about the whole and trying to get rid of the kind of noisiness that will happen over the course of the NFL season, things will happen, upsets will happen. That is how the NFL is designed. But if you're looking at this moment in time, how much better the Lions are, the difference is that level of chemistry, ability to like just unity, like they're like everything about it of that team, not to just keep glowing about it, but it really is. This is his fourth year. Jared Goff has been there 4 years. A lot of the guys that have come into that building, whether they've been drafted or sign off um, free agency or whatever, like they have just found a way to have everybody just step in line and have it be like a team where I think the Packers are like that, but it just doesn't. I don't know. This is probably getting nitpicky of me, but it just feels sometimes it can feel off or it doesn't feel it feels different compared to what the Lions have right now. Maybe this is just me succumbing to the Lions brand, but
Mm-hmm.
it's I don't know. It's just a little different.
Yeah, it's just different. That's all there is to it. I don't know, man. Trying to
Well,
think of
we're
who else to talk to.
6-3. I'm just saying 6-3 at the bye week.
Yeah, that's a good place to be. Get healthy is the biggest thing, man. Like they just need to get healthy.
Yeah.
And I say that, but it's like, does it change anything? Is my biggest problem with that sentence. I don't think they've had problems with because of injuries. Like I said it 10 minutes ago. Jair, Evan Williams, and Josh Myers don't really move the needle today. It's all mental errors,
Yeah.
and I hope that for the next 2 weeks that they're just stewing on this. Like I really hope that they're just angry at how they came out and showed out against a really good team because they should be embarrassed. Like 100%, they should be embarrassed of how they came out and looked today. And with any luck, they'll come out against the Bears in 2 weeks and just throttle them. Bears who lost today. So that's my hope. That's my hope.
We're also going into the trade deadline.
I don't think they make anything. I just saw a report as well that Zadarius Smith is likely going to be traded to Detroit by tonight or tomorrow. So they get help on the edge if they're missing Aiden Hutchinson. But I don't know. Like I don't know where you go for help because again,
Warner.
maybe. I mean, who are they going to go get is my biggest question. I don't want Denzel Ward. That man's brain is one concussion away from being mashed potatoes. And I think he just had one like 2 weeks ago. You ever seen 902 movie?
I actually started watching it with my wife not that long ago. It is objectively awful.
Yeah, it's very bad. But did you finish it?
No,
Okay,
no.
so Chris Evans plays a football player,
Yes, he does.
and at the end of the game, they're playing, and there's one of their players, the center or an offensive lineman, has the scoreboard has countdowns to how many concussions the player has left because he's had a bunch of them, and he hits zero, and at the end of the movie, and that's Denzel Ward, respectively. Like he is in the same boat as like Tua, as like, brother, you've had enough concussions that you probably should just hang it up. So no, I don't want Denzel Ward for injury issues alone. Yeah, they could probably help at corner. Like Stokes was fine today, I think. I like there wasn't really a chance to watch him too closely all day long. I think he was one of the guys that left the big catch to Laporta. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know who you go get. So yeah, I don't know.
It obviously invites the opportunity to improve the team,
It
and
does, but you're not gonna go get Max Crosby because Mark Murphy is gonna would absolutely disavow Brian Gutekunst if he traded a first round pick when the draft's in Green Bay next year, which is the wrong mentality to have, but that's what's going to happen. They're not trading for Myles Garrett. They're not trading for Max Crosby. They're just not.
yeah,
And so, yeah, I'm not sure what they're going to do if they do anything at all. I'd be surprised if they just didn't stay put.
yeah, but most likely they'll stay put. But
Yeah,
I think corner is the most obvious way that they can improve this team,
yeah.
and it might. I mean, Razul Douglas is looked at as this kind of. I mean, and why would he be looked at anything or look? Ugh, good lord, why would he be looked at like this? Good, I can't speak.
Why
I can't
wouldn't he
speak.
be looked at as anything else but a good player after he got traded?
A good player, but also like when he came into Green Bay, it was like this tide lifting, uplifting move. And obviously the Arizona game happened. I was at that Rams game where he did a house call, pick six, on Stafford. I think he had two picks that game, if memory serves. But he did just like kind of turn things around in a very real way. Not that things were trending downward, but they just needed someone to kind of be this mid-season, hero.
In
Um,
case you're
and
curious, Razul Douglas has allowed 2 touchdowns this year. Uh, the quarterbacks, when throwing at Razul Douglas, have 114.3 passer rating. He's allowed 16 catches for 25 on 25 targets for a total of 193 yards, including 88 yards after the catch. So it's not like he's been immaculate. He has no interceptions.
no, but I think again he was on I forget what practice squad team it was.
Arizona.
Arizona. Yeah, that's right. And that was obviously not the big. I forget who the big guy that they were linked to that year. Maybe that was the Stephon Gilmore stuff.
Maybe. I maybe
That
rings a
would be
bell.
around that time. But he comes in and made such a big impact that the Packers could maybe they find something else like similar. Like it that was not a trade. That was a practice squad move that turned out to be something bigger than they could ever thought. I'm just shooting putting out into the ether that maybe just maybe if they make moves, it's going to be viewed as on the periphery and it might just be something that they need to kind of spark something. But yeah, they're not going to be in the worlds of Max Crosby, uh, Myles Garrett. Marshawn Lattimore continues to have some buzz, but that's a top corner that, again, to your point, Packers have not and will never do something like that as long as Brian Kuntz is the GM of this team.
Correct.
Rightfully so.
Yep. Eh.
Yeah, it's
It's risky, but they're good players and they're proven players. Let me tell you this. Here's a perfect devil's advocate question. Do you trade for Marshawn Lattimore, trade a first round pick, or do you draft Quay Walker? Do you know what I mean? Like first round picks at where the Packers are picking are not sure things. And if you can get a sure thing in a season where you're good, you have Super Bowl aspirations. I'm not sure how much longer it's left on Marshawn Lattimore's contract, but he'd be a great guy to be put next to Jair Alexander. The money gets a little screwy, that's for damn sure. But I I think trading first round picks when you're good at drafting, typically like the Packers are, like they've had pretty good draft classes these last couple years, I don't think is that big of an issue. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
I just I don't know. Especially when the Packers are so risk averse to drafting in the first round. Cause like look at Terry and Arnold and Cooper DeJean. I'm sorry, Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean over in Philadelphia. both players available for the Packers to pick at 25 this year. They picked neither of them and said Philadelphia gets both, and they're both having pretty great seasons to start their rookie campaigns. Um, they don't draft Graham Barton. He's having a really good year down in Tampa. Like, I'm not saying Brian Gutekunst is bad at drafting in the first round, but maybe that's just not a bad idea to go pick. I know it's not going to happen kind of thing, but like the past 3 years, none of his first round picks are really showing out. Devontae Wyatt has come on well. I'm hoping that he really does come on and makes that statement false. Quay Walker hasn't been good. Lucas Van Ness has not taken a leap this year, and Jordan Morgan, injuries aside, has been okay. It's big. Like I don't know. What do
Yeah.
you? What is the value of a Packers first round pick within the organization when they do so well in rounds 2 through 7? I know that's very very nuanced and likely not how the organization sees it, obviously. But I think, and obviously, correlation is not causation. Just because Brian Gutekunst has picked five bad round first, five bad first round picks, four bad first round picks in the last few years, doesn't mean the next one will be bad. But
Yeah.
I just the way that the organization chooses to primarily draft value positions over value players is where it kind of gets messy for me. Like they only take edge rushers, they really only take offensive linemen. I mean, Jair was what, 2017, 2016,
2018.
2018, and so from there, I forget their Stokes was 2020, right, or 2019, 20
21.
21. Thank you. And so like I don't know. Maybe he's afraid of catching another Eric Stokes, but that was a long a long bit about the trade deadline, which is I
Also,
believe Tuesday.
it is Tuesday. Also worth mentioning, some buzz about Preston Smith out there has been reported, whether it's been Ian Rappaport earlier this year or
Yeah,
most
there's
recently
yeah.
Diana Rossini. Maybe it's just something to keep an eye on. Obviously, might not manifest into something.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. All right, end with an I don't know because I see the reason for trading. He hasn't been that big of an impact player this year, but at the same time, who wants him? Kind of thing. Like I saw that like the Panthers might want him for like a veteran presence, but I don't know if they're gonna do that trade. Well, they're gonna give you like a fifth.
No, at that
Right.
point, it's like
And why
just
do it?
hold on to them.
Just hold on to him. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
all right. Anything else, Jordan? Brandon McManus misses a fucking field goal because, of course, he does. There goes that good streak. Daniel Whelan had two good punts today. Something like that. I forget if he had more than that, but yeah, two for 84. Jesus Christ, he's good at punting football. Anything else, or should we get out of here so I can end my misery for this week?
No, I think we're good. I think
Had enough
are
misery.
we're frustrated the short term, and long term is eh,
Skeptical is where I'm at.
it's probably worth a bigger discussion on a bi-week pod.
Hmm. Interesting. A little bit of a tease from Jordan Tresky. All right, folks. That does it for this episode of Talk of Tundra. Be sure to check out all things GSPN over at gspn.info or gspn.substack.com. They go to the same place. Um, the premium Substack, $8 a month to get all these GSPN pods ad free, as well as listen to the exclusive for subscribers After Dark podcast. Uh, this week, Andrew and I did a little potpourri episode, the Andrew Numac Power Hour. A whole lot of fun. Whole lot of fun. Would recommend honestly subscribing for that pod alone because it was a great deal of fun. Talked about jam bands. Talked about some T Swift, some food. Talked about trying to think what else we chat. Oh, my journey to get this T-shirt. Hold on. If you're on video, you can take a look. But for you audio listeners, I got a T-shirt from oop, it's up, it's horizontal. I got this. No, it's upside down. Oh my god,
Oh my God.
I got this. If it's right side upside
I
down.
remember my first Zoom call.
I got this
Like,
T-shirt from Versity Blood Center because I donated blood. And it says Grateful Blood on it, because and it's got the Grateful Dead logo with Versity's colors. I'm sure it's not licensed, but
no.
to get that T-shirt, I had to go through a bit of an adventure at the Blood Donation Center. So go check out the After Dark podcast to hear that story in full. Um, Go check out the Euro Step and the Bucks feed along with 1 in 6. Wisconsin sports are in a hellhole, so you can go have some misery over on the Bucks feed if you want, but still doing some good things over there. Obviously with Ty and Rohan and then Jordan Adam. The highlight of the Wisconsin Sports Day is that Bryce Terang and Sal Frelick were just awarded their Gold Gloves. So Adam and Andrew, I'm sure we'll have an episode on that for Cruising for Bruising coming up soon. And then make time for this, as I mentioned last episode. I was on with Adam and Andrew talking about body horror, including The Substance, The Fly, and Possession. So go check out that as Spooktober wrapped up earlier this week. So, Jordan, look like you have something to say. Do you have anything to say?
No.
Perfect.
No, I'm
All right, folks. Appreciate you listening. Hopefully, this was some sort of therapy for you, as it was not for me. But we will be back in your podcast feeds very soon for the bye week pod and everything else. So, thank you for listening. And Jordan, thank you.
thank you.